Purple Daily is daily Vikings entertainment. We just want the Vikings to win a Super Bowl before we die.
I will ride with this group.
Seriously, man. Please.
And away we go.
And a happy Thursday to all of you who celebrate. So, yeah, I think some of you may have seen the news through Thor's Twitter account, but his mom passed away a few days ago. And so, rightfully so, he's taken some time off from Purple Daily and from content. But, yeah, if you get a chance, maybe send Thor a little note on Twitter or somewhere else just to let him know that the Purple Daily audience is thinking about him. And I mean, we've lost all of our parents on this show, so we definitely empathize with what he's going through. But we love Thor, and he will be back for hopefully next Thursday. But however much time he needs, we want to give him some space. So
absolutely.
Before we get into today's Thursday exercise, ranking all 32 NFL head coaches in tiers, according to at least this guy
Mackey
right here.
tiers.
I was going to say,
Mackey
yeah,
tiers.
we'll see.
My
Yeah,
tiers.
Mackey tiers.
You got Dex's tiers.
We'll see what we think.
Mine are a little bit different, perhaps. But and the exercise is sort of in parallel. Where does Kevin O'Connell rank? Is he a top 5 coach? Is he a top 10? Is he top half of the league? So I will take you through my NFL head coaching tiers. We'll do a random Viking of the week, but we start at Quick Trip here, Judd.
Absolutely do. And, of course, Quick Trip is all about your convenience. Been talking about that for a long time now. But they are also about you winning. How so? Gear up for their Quick Trip Mountain Dew Quick Climb now through August 17th. Play each day for free in the Quick Rewards app. Score bonus plays with every eligible item that you grab. We're talking about Pepsi, Mountain Dew, Gatorade or Propel, Sparkling Bubblers, Starbucks, Pure Leaf, Rockstar. Grab one of those with hot food and earn 2 bonus plays. Every week, someone's cashing in. Each week, the prize climbs by $5,000, and the one player who reaches the top of the climb will win $250,000 in cash. Open your Quick Rewards app and get climbing for a chance to win with Quick Trip and Mountain Dew. No purchase necessary. See full rules at quicktrip.com/sweepstakes, Phil.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Judd.
Don Pardo, back to you.
Actually, you know what? On the flight, what flight was it? No, was it the Chicago flight? I don't know. It was a couple days. It might have been. Maybe it was Vegas coming back. Old Macadac's been jet setting the last few days. And I watched. Have you guys heard of or seen The Luckiest Man in the World? I think that's what it's called. The guy who went on Press Your Luck in like the mid '80s.
Oh, I watched that. Yes.
And did you used to watch that show back in like the original version of that show back in the day?
No, I don't remember it. But I watched
Walter Goggins, right? Walter Goggins?
Walton Goggins.
Walton Goggins.
Put some respect on that.
That's right.
Yeah, so he played the game show host guy.
Yeah.
But it's about this dude who he's kind of a scammer, but he essentially VHS taped a bajillion episodes of this show and figured out the timing of the boop, 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 the whammies boxes.
Yes.
And the previous winner, like the previous record high winner was like $20,000. And he won, he kept pressing his luck because he knew the pattern. And he won like over $100,000.
That's brilliant.
Anyways, yeah.
But I didn't see the movie. I saw a documentary, which was really good on it.
Yeah, it's really. So maybe we should talk about that on Mackie and Judd at some point here. But this episode of Purple Daily is all about football. And we're going to put our graphics department was hard at work. They did not sleep last night, as you can see. Mackie's NFL head coach tiers. And we're going to start at the bottom tier, and work our way all the way up. And we will unveil where Kevin O'Connell ranks and what tier he's in. But if you guys are ready, let's fire this up.
Football.
Oh, yeah.
We did this exercise a year ago, and it was kind of funny to look back. Like 7 coaches got fired or had their contracts expire. By the way, I had a category last year of it's time to update your LinkedIn resume. And I had 4 people in that category. 3 did get fired. One of them, Jonathan Gannon, was able to double the win total and stick around in Arizona. The others got fired.
All righty.
I don't have that category this year. There's a couple guys that could be in it, but I think they belong in different categories. So we'll start with this one. Welcome to the NFL. These 5 coaches. These are brand new NFL head coaches. We got number 32, Kellen Moore, New Orleans. Number 31, Liam Cohen, Duval.
Yeah.
Jacksonville.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Number 30, Brian Schottenheimer in Dallas. 29, Aaron Glenn in New York with the Jets. And then Ben Johnson with the Bears at number 28.
This is a very small nit, but you are going from your perceived worst up, right? So like Kellen Moore is 32 for a reason.
Yeah, I mean,
I feel the disrespect here to Moore. Cone behind him for sure. I mean, that guy might be nuts.
Who would you put last? Who would you put last?
Liam Cone last, Brian Schottenheimer 31, Kellen Moore 30 at least.
So my logic on this was, and let's put it this way, I didn't spend a ton of time. No. I didn't spend 5 hours trying to
disappointed.
Matriculate
Declan
through
and I are
28
like, what are you doing?
through 32. Yep. But part of this was Liam Cohen comes in with at least a ton of talent in Trevor Lawrence, right?
I hear you.
Brian Schottenheimer has a guy that was second in MVP voting a couple years ago at quarterback. Aaron Glenn, there's a defense there. There's some pieces. He should be able to at least play some close, grinded out games. And Ben Johnson, I'm putting him there because he's got some talent at quarterback. There's offensive line. There's a bunch of pieces. And he's regarded as the brilliant offensive line or offensive minded guy in the NFL.
Yeah.
So Kellen Moore, kind of by default, what's the quarterback situation in New Orleans?
Yeah. Let me, as the number one Kellen Moore stan, who I still do stand for my guy Kellen Moore. That Saints team is gearing up for the number one pick. I think that's very clear. However, if Kellen Moore is the genius that I think he is, and somehow the Saints are competent, he probably shoots up these rankings because he made chicken out of chicken bait.
But if you're Kellen Moore, I mean, I'm not saying that you want to lose, but are you really going to be offended if you do? Here's my problem in Jacksonville, okay? And I guess, unfortunately, I've come around to Declan's side because I was, no question, a Trevor Lawrence stan, right? But he's proven very little so far. So, I could easily see the case being made that, Liam Cohen was supposed to turn him around and didn't. And, Trevor Lawrence is I think going into 2025, a really interesting discussion.
Yeah.
And Kellen Moore, if he loses, I'd still probably put him 30th at least, because it's like, okay, he lost. Now you go get Arch Manning, perhaps.
Yeah, New Orleans, this is like a 3-year situation for Kellen Moore. Some of these other guys, you never know. Like the Jets could fire someone after 5 minutes. The Bears are known to pull the plug pretty quickly after a year or two. So
is Brian Schottenheimer going to get the grace that McCarthy got? I've expected, and heck, Jason Garrett, right? There was...
Dude, Cowboys, there's a lot of things to nitpick the Cowboys and Jerry Jones for. Patience with head coaches. They don't just fire guys. Yeah, Jason Garrett was there for 8 years or something.
Yeah.
McCarthy was there for 4 years, had 12 wins in 3 of them, and then the contract expired. And I actually think, because he didn't get fired, his contract was up. And I think it might have been 50-50 where McCarthy's like, I don't know about this. I don't know if I trust the Jones family running this front office. Dak Prescott with a $60 million cap hit. Maybe I'll just sit on the sidelines for a year and then go grab the Jacksonville job after they blow Liam Cohen out, right?
Sure. Yes.
Any other questions on the 28 through 32?
We're off to a good start. The whole purpose of the show. We're off to a great start.
Let's do 5 minutes on Aaron Glenn in New York. Okay.
Can I just say, between Judd's Kyle Tucker and PCA rants on the Twin Show at Doogie and Liam Cohen, Kellen Moore, I did not have. I had the under on time spent on both those things over our podcast today.
You were talking about a man who has very little life outside of his interest in sports.
We'll do a full breakdown of Brian Schottenheimer's bloodlines later on here. Okay, the next tier. Pray that your quarterback is good or healthy. And there's 5 guys in this tier. And you could argue that a couple of these should be in the update your LinkedIn profile section as well. So call this a blended one. Number 27, Brian Callahan in Tennessee. Well, Will Levis was kind of a disaster, so they draft Cam Ward. And if Cam Ward is not good, or if you don't develop him, then you're not gonna work there anymore after probably 2026. Number 26, Dave Canales in Carolina. So major improvements for them in the second half of last season. They won a few games. They were leading in the fourth quarter against the Chiefs and the Eagles in the second half of the season. And but by a bunch of different measurements and metrics, Bryce Young was one of the like 10 to 15 best quarterbacks in the league. Also, their schedule this year, they don't play a playoff team until I think week 8. So Carolina in a gettable division. I'm not saying they're going to win 11 games, but like if 6.5 is the over and they don't play a playoff team until week 8, and you take what happened in the second half, I could see them doing some damage.
Yeah, this is a brilliantly named tier. Because all five of these dudes are guys that are literally hinging on what direction basically are their quarterbacks going to go. Probably, talent wise, Miami should, like, Mike McDaniel should be higher than 23, but he's kind of made the bet in the situation he's in right now.
And for the audio audience, just to speed, so 25 Brian Dable, 24 New York Giants, 24 Shane Steichen Colts, and then 23 Mike McDaniel with the Dolphins. So McDaniel at times has been much more highly regarded. There's been spurts of offensive brilliance. There's been also some weird, like Tyreek Hill wanting out and some weird drama stuff. But when Tua plays under Mike McDaniel, the Dolphins are 25-16. So that's the key. It's like if Tua's healthy, they win games until December or January when they have to go play in the cold.
When it's cold.
Screwed.
But that's a very important detail too, I think, because they need to. I feel like the Dolphins might need to make the playoffs and win a playoff game to think that McDaniel's on secure footing, because Stephen Ross, their owner, is a wild card dude. Like he is a wild card.
Yeah.
So on this list, McDaniel, Steichen, Dable, Canales, and Callahan. How many are a coach at this time next year when you do this?
I think Dable's almost certainly gone.
I do too. I think Steichen.
Callahan
gone. So the thing about Steichen is, despite chaos at quarterback, right? Richardson's not been good or healthy yet. They were leaning on ancient Joe Flacco. Now they bring in Daniel Jones. But they've won 17 games in 2 years, the first 2 years under Steichen.
Mm-hmm.
So they are not this disaster that maybe people... But again, like, you're at the mercy this year of Anthony Richardson or Daniel Jones.
That's my thought process is this. Daniel Jones, who left QB rehab school right here early, he could drag you down really quickly. And I don't know that Richardson can then be plugged in and just win. I'll go Steichen and Dable are my favorites to be fired. McDaniel on a definite hot seat. Callahan and Canales, I think, get more grace. Although the Carolina Tepper he's a wild card too.
He is. And if Bryce Young falls off a cliff again, then all right, there's going to be people above Canales looking to save their jobs and like, okay, we got to get. He's the problem. Let's go get a new coach. Right. So those five guys at the mercy of their quarterback. Any other questions? Are you ready for the next?
No, I'm ready for the next tier.
Okay. There's one guy in the next tier. It's the wasting Joe Burrow tier.
You hate this guy.
And Zach Taylor is the guy here. So, yeah, we kind of talked about him this week, but Zach Taylor and the Bengals have started 0-2 or worse in each of the last 3 seasons. You have an all-time great talent at quarterback. Stop losing to New England in week 1. Can you start 1-1 at least and not bury yourself in a hole? And that defense has been a disaster. So I know the organization doesn't make it easy on guys, but Zach Taylor, you don't want to get too far into the Joe Burrow era and be like, man, did we have the wrong coach for 3 years?
I'll defend Zach on this, though, to your point about the defense. Has the front office, like they are now in a contract dispute with their with Trey Hendrickson still, right? I think they're talking again, but that's not gone well. I believe that their first round pick is a defensive player, and he also is in a dispute of sorts. So like the defense to me is the absolute key here.
Yeah, but you're a head coach, not an offensive coordinator. Right. So part of that fault. Now you could say, okay, personnel, let's get those contracts done, whatever.
Right.
But I think all too often, so he's the offensive guy. Okay, no, he's the head coach. If your defense is terrible, then
if this doesn't work this season, there, especially with all of the pieces, not just Joe Burrow, but the receivers and everything, I think we need to start to ask a fundamentally bigger question: is Joe Burrow wasting Joe Burrow?
Yeah, it's pretty rare that top quarterbacks force their way out, right? It's like until the end of their career. Brady goes to Tampa, Rodgers, Favre, but it's pretty rare that a guy who would be regarded as a top 5, top 4 quarterback in the league before turning 30 would say, I want out. When has that happened?
You know what? Just off the top of my head, it's happened to guys who have been picked by what they perceive to be dumpster fire organizations and then force a trade immediately.
Like Eli Manning.
Eli Manning. But I'm just, it might be an act of God that the Bengals actually made a Super Bowl.
Yeah, with that offensive line.
Yeah,
just
that might have just been. I mean, Joe Burrow is great. Don't get me wrong, but I think it's a fair question to ask: Can greatness overcome dumpster fire?
Yeah, and he's done a pretty good job of doing some of that here. Okay, the next tier. 4 guys in the next tier from 18 through 21. Defensive coaches trying to speak quarterback. So number 21, Mike McDonald. Oh, God. Such a long way to go. Okay, forget. Number 20, Raheem Morris in Atlanta. Number 19, Jonathan Gannon in Arizona. And number 18, he was higher last year, DeMeco Ryans in Houston. So real quick, Mike McDonald, I feel like we don't yet know a ton about what they're doing in Seattle. They just changed quarterbacks, but they had a sneaky 10-win season last year. Mm-hmm. And they don't have a bunch of household names on that roster. They did miss the playoffs, but they won 10 games. Can Mike McDonald speak Sam Darnold's language? And can they form a partnership together? Because, I know it's a 3-year deal. It's more of like a 1-year guaranteed kind of bridge thing. But, they're hitching their wagon to Sam Darnold after trading Geno Smith. Number 20, Raheem Morris. He's a defensive guy now overseeing Michael Penix's development, and they've had some bizarre organizational handling of quarterback. But if Penix doesn't work out, Raheem Morris probably gets fired. Jonathan Gannon is a defensive guy trying to monitor Kyler Murray's video game hours per week versus film study. Arizona doubled their win total last year, and they have a pretty favorable schedule. 2025, 6 non-playoff teams to start the season, so they could actually make some hay in that division. And then DeMeco Ryans, couple of 10-win seasons, couple of playoff wins, but a step back for C.J. Stroud. So you have a defensive guy trying to develop this now 3rd-year quarterback. So I don't think any of these guys are like immediately going to get fired. I would say that Raheem Morris is probably on the hottest seat just because Atlanta seems chaotic. But 18 through 21, DeMeco Ryans, Jonathan Gannon, Raheem Morris, Mike McDonald.
It feels like, just from the outside, that Mike McDonald in his first season in Seattle had a very Mike Zimmer first-year effect, right? Like, it was impressive. And because, Mike, when Zim came here, he took over a dumpster fire. So, yeah, I would agree. I think DeMeco Ryans, if I had to guess in order who's going to shoot up this list a year from now, because I'm guessing that they are all pretty secure in their jobs, I would say I would not be surprised if DeMeco Ryans is in your top 10 next year.
He was pretty close to that last year.
And I'm intrigued by Gannon because he seems like a really weird guy, and I thought he'd probably be fired, and they had a decent year. So he intrigues me because I thought after his first year, this guy doesn't feel like he's suited to be a head coach, and that might have been absolutely wrong.
Yeah. Okay, the next tier, as we get toward the halfway point of the exercise, I'm calling this one Reputation Rehab. You got 2 guys in here. You got number 17, Kevin Stefanski in Cleveland, and number 16, Todd Bowles in Tampa. And at first glance, I think a lot of people look at these 2 and say, they're just on borrowed time. Like, people thought Bowles was going to get fired probably last year, and Stefanski. But here's the thing about these 2 guys. Kevin Stefanski, despite the stink of that Cleveland history and organization, has 2 11-win seasons. Mm-hmm. They only won 3 games last year, but he is the most successful Cleveland Browns head coach since Marty Schottenheimer in the 80s. And I'd love to see him, whether it's Dallas with like a Dak Prescott, just somewhere that has their bleep together a little bit more at quarterback and maybe organizationally. And Todd Bowles, I think, is still washing off the stink of the Jets tenure from 7 years ago or whenever that was. People are like, Todd Bowles, he's just kind of a recycled random guy, right? They had a top 5 offense. He's a defensive coach. They had a top 5 offense in Tampa last year. Baker Mayfield rejuvenates his career. They've won 8, 9, and now 10 games in the 3 years he's been with the Buccaneers, division titles. But people look at those guys because of the Jets previously for Bowles, and the Browns with Stefanski, and they're just like, those guys are just kind of random throwaway head coaches, expendable head coaches. But they're not.
On Bowles, it's going to be interesting to see. If I'm not mistaken, his OC a year ago with Baker was Liam Cohen. Mm-hmm. who might be a really good, who knows? I mean, some dudes are just great coordinators, and that's where they max out. I think if you go back to your pray for a good season from the quarterback list, I think there is a very good chance that Kevin Stefanski could be the head coach of one of those teams next season. And in fact, I would love to see that.
Interesting. So if a couple of these teams are just awful, like Indianapolis or something,
yes,
and you'd be in line to draft a quarterback.
How about the Giants? Because Stefanski is like, I think he's at a point in his life where he could work in that market and sort of be effective. Because he's not, he's not a boisterous guy, but he's stoic. Exactly. Mm-hmm. But I mean, if you put him in a situation that, to your point, has some stability,
I could actually see. If Carolina decides that Dave Canales ain't the guy, but if that's the case, they'd probably decide that Bryce Young also isn't the guy.
Right.
But I could see Stefanski's that sort of Kubiakian system where it's a lot of like zone running and play actions and stuff, like really helping a quarterback like a Bryce Young. So, okay, that's fair. Okay, let's get to the next one here. The next category, the next tier is it's not 2009 anymore. Number 15, Sean Payton. Number 14, Mike Tomlin.
Wow.
Now, these are both like first ballot for their careers. These guys are Hall of Famers, and they've got Super Bowls. And Sean Payton did a nice job with Bo Nix last season. They made the playoffs, so a nice little job there by Sean Payton.
Yeah.
Mike Tomlin, 11th all-time in wins, never below 500 in Pittsburgh, dating back to 2007, but 0 playoff wins since 2016. And the highest ranked offense they've had the last 6 years is 23rd. So they get desperate and bring in Aaron Rodgers. So if this was a career legacy tier list or ranking, Tomlin would be way higher than 14. Peyton would be way higher. But it's not. It's a 2025 list. And so I've got these guys, Mike Tomlin 14 and Sean Payton 15.
I'm surprised Peyton, with what he did with Bo Nix, is not higher going into 2025, though. That was pretty impressive. Like, I didn't expect that. Perhaps he needed that. Perhaps, you know what? Perhaps that's what Mike Tomlin needs. Change of scenery. On Tomlin, I agree completely.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the exercise would be here, if you feel that way about Sean Payton, that he should be higher, then let me know who you would move down as we get to the top 13 here. Because it does get a lot harder once you get to the top 13. There's some really good coaches in the NFL right now, as I was going through this exercise. Mm-hmm. I mean, as evidenced by Tomlin and Peyton being outside the top 13, which brings us to the next three here. The next tier, from stale to fresh again. All three of these guys were deemed stale very recently, and now they're fresh in their new places. Mike Vrabel, fresh start in New England. Pete Carroll, 73 years old, running around, wrestling around with his guys, chewing gum, rapid fire in Las Vegas. And then Dan Quinn, who has the year under his belt in Washington, was like when Dan Quinn got hired, and even in the couple years leading up to that when he was interviewing, it was like, oh, Dan Quinn, he's a retread. That'd be like a stale hire. He was awesome in Atlanta. They had a 28-3 lead in the freaking Super Bowl over a dynasty. Yep. They blew it. And now that he's with Washington and they are relevant for the first time in 30 years, it feels fresh. Dan Quinn has changed the culture with his little backwards hats and whatever. And then Pete Carroll, the last 17 years as an NFL head coach between New England back in the late 90s or whatever, and Seattle, only 3 losing seasons in those 17 years, and those 3 losing seasons were 7-win seasons. So for 2 decades, the worst case scenario for a Pete Carroll team is 7 wins. In Oakland, or not Oakland, but Las Vegas is like, yeah, I think we'll sign up for that as a team that regularly goes 4-13 or whatever.
I feel like Dan Quinn is probably the most surprising guy on this list, because I think was he there before Jaden Daniels got there?
No,
I can't remember.
They hired him and then drafted Jaden Daniels.
Yeah. So I think, and I remember being like, man, is that the right guy for it? And he has been awesome. It's been incredible watching that. So yeah, I did not expect such a great resurgence, but Jaden Daniels looks awesome too. So a good little marriage there.
Vrabel intrigues me. I'm very curious to see how this works now because
They got Josh McDaniels back as the OC there
yeah,
too.
yeah, it'll be, and there's pressure there because he played there and he's obviously highly thought of. So the Vrabel one really, really intrigues me.
So that's 13 through 11, which
Yep.
means if you're keeping track at home, Kevin O'Connell is officially a top 10 coach in the National Football League. And we'll tell you where exactly he slots in and the tier in a moment. Shout out to MSP Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning first, Judd.
If I had to make a list of the places that I would call if my AC, heating, plumbing went on the fritz, I'm going to tell you right now that list would begin and end with our friends at MSP Plumbing, Heating, and Air. Because if your AC is struggling, it's muggy out again today. Guess what? You do not need to put up with that. $49 AC tune-up is absolutely a no-brainer for your peace of mind. They do repairs, installs. Their service is reliable. How does Sports Dad know? Because he used them, and they were fantastic. A couple of times, in fact. Ask about their Total Comfort Club membership to know that your system in your home will be taken care of all year long. Go to callmsp.com or give them a call, 651-615-4292. Call msp.com, and your heating and air and plumbing needs, guess what? Taken care of pronto.
Hey, Federated Insurance is helping to power Purple Daily for another season here. And the upcoming Federated Challenge, the 21st annual Federated Challenge is coming up in just a few weeks to support big brothers and big sisters. This 2-day event has raised almost $60 million over the last 20 years for youth mentoring. And 100% of that money goes directly to Big Brothers, Big Sisters and the Federated Challenge Scholarship Program. The gala is on July 27th at St. Paul River Center this year. And then there's a golf event at Hazeltine National the day after. Visit federatedchallenge.org to become a sponsor. That's federatedchallenge.org. Okay, back to the head coach tiers here, the rankings. The next tier is called the Deans of QB Rehab School, where we have number 10, Matt LaFleur, and number 9, Kevin O'Connell. And so this is where I'm sure people are gonna be hot in the comment sections and may strongly disagree. But let's start with Kevin O'Connell at number 9. 13 wins, 14 wins, and then there was that, the year that Kirk tore the Achilles in the second season. But he's helped revive Sam Darnold's career. He helped lead Kirk Cousins to an NFL record 8 fourth-quarter comebacks. And maybe most importantly, the 4th best career winning percentage among all active NFL head coaches. So he's got to win a playoff game at some point to fully validate these first 3 years. Mm-hmm. And now that he's got J.J. McCarthy in a perfect world, you're off to the races for the next 5, 8, 10 years. And I really do think Kevin O'Connell is going to be one of these guys. Like, a third of the league turns over head coaches every 2 years. But then you get the ones that last the test of time. The Tomlins, Sean Payton for all those years with Drew Brees, John Harbaugh. I really think at some point, like 5 years from now, KOC is going to be one of the longest tenured head coaches with the same team in the NFL. Demeanor, X's and O's, quarterback acumen, hiring ability, bringing in Brian Flores. So I've got him 9th. I know we're not like done revealing the rest of the list here, but does that sound about right, or am I disrespecting KOC here?
Oh, I think it's very fair. I think it's fair. Yeah. And the next thing to come too, and this is not taking place yet, but it will. The next thing to come, because of his success, and obviously comes from the McVay tree, which is wildly successful as well, is the poaching of his assistants. Like, that's the next step. Yeah. Gowan will get a job. I think if McCarthy has a good year, I think he's gone. I think he gets a head coaching job. Keenan McCardell, at some point, I don't know if he'll be a head coach, but he wants to be an OC, and I think he probably will deserve that at some point. So, yes, I like the trickle down of this. If it's going to start, is going to be O'Connell is on very secure footing. He's going to probably need to have a wide Rolodex of assistants to call up, because I think that's the next step in his evolution as a head coach.
Yeah.
This feels like a very pivotal year of where we really think and who Kevin O'Connell is as a head coach among the best in the NFL, right? Because now he's had the QB rehab school. He turned Kirk Cousins, and he got a more level out of Kirk. The Josh Dobbs games, the Sam Darnold season. Now he gets his rookie quarterback. And I guess how long is the leash, and how quick are we to put him in the elite category, or do we cap him at a certain point if McCarthy does maybe struggle or just plays at a, manager-like level? I think this is a very pivotal year for him for where we put him among the best head coaches.
I don't think McCarthy, though, needs to star. Like, that's the thing is I think the expectation is he's going to come out in and be lights out. I would not be surprised if Sam Darnold's statistics from 2024 far exceed in some ways J.J. McCarthy's. But if you win games, if you run more, like it's a small thing, but I think those that watch the Vikings and O'Connell closely are going to be far more fixated on how do you get points, how do you matriculate down the field. Yeah. It doesn't need to be a series of long strikes from the QB. So yes, I think the most important thing is play calling, how you go about your business. And if McCarthy has decent stats, but they're not eye popping, I don't think anyone should or will complain.
Okay, and I'm going to get roasted for just suggesting this. I'm sorry for being the guy that has to do this, but I'm just curious on the temperature of the room of what would happen if this goes down. Let's say McCarthy stinks in his rookie year, and the Vikings stink too. Not even just like O'Connell and the team can carry him to maybe an 8-win season, but McCarthy takes a step back. Let's say it's a 5-win season, and McCarthy's really bad. How do we look at Kevin O'Connell? He probably drops down a peg, right?
Wow. So if this team stays healthy, it would be jarring if they only won 5 games.
Yep.
So in that hypothetical, which I don't think is within the parameters of what's possible this season, unless there's injuries, then yeah, you would look at the head coach and you would say, how did this collection of talent with no injuries as part of this premise only win 5 games? But I don't think, like, this dude won 7 games with Nick Mullins, Jaron Hall, and Josh Dobbs, and a lesser roster starting half the season 2 years ago. So I mean, that's, yeah, like, we can throw out hypotheticals and what if this happens, but I would be floored if they stayed healthy and only won 5 games.
With the offensive weapons, with the offensive line improved, with the potential for a real run game with 2 guys to win 5 games, like if they were healthy, you would need to purposely have McCarthy fail, which they won't do. Now, if the wheels fall off and everyone gets hurt, all bets are off. But I would say, Dex, to your question, I would say if the majority of the team stays healthy and McCarthy struggles just on his own, I would put a cap on wins of like 8 or 9 still.
But part of I think if I'm misinterpreting some of this, stop me, Dex, but part of the spirit of your question is because the first thing you said was, what if McCarthy stinks? Let's take the 5 wins thing out, because I think there's like a very, very little chance that they're the best. What if McCarthy stinks is, to me, the more interesting part of that question. What happens in NFL culture with fans, media, and even impatient owners and front office leaders is you hire a coach, especially one that has an offensive background and acumen, to develop a quarterback that the organization hand selects to be the guy of the future. And if that quarterback stinks, the head coach almost certainly takes the fall at some point. Maybe he sticks around for like 1 year of the next guy, the next quarterback, but then the rope is very short and the patience is very thin. And I don't know that like, if J.J. McCarthy is bad, does that mean that Kevin O'Connell should be on a hot seat or fired? And I think we're way too quick to make that jump in the NFL. Sometimes you whiff on a pick. Like, it's not an exact science. But the work that he's put in so far, even going back to the work that he did before he got to the Vikings, I would be shocked if McCarthy's bad. We can debate how high his ceiling is. And B, I don't think it would just be grounds to fire him. Oh my God, McCarthy's bad, fire him. I would say, all right, well, what's another solution at quarterback? And let's see if there's he's earned more than just like a short rope with McCarthy, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I just I'm curious to see where he vaults up, because we talk about McVay all the time. Mike McDaniel, even though he's much lower on these rankings, gets all this talk and acumen. If McCarthy does take the next step, I think he enters that chat. But if McCarthy does struggle, I just wonder. I just wonder how we look at KOC.
This might sound really weird, but I actually think that there's a bigger question of a conversation a year from now if the Vikings make the playoffs and lose again in the first round.
It's
Because then it's like,
Like-
okay, you've gone 3 times. You've not won a game. You've gone with 3 different flavors of quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Like, I think there's more of a probability of an O'Connell discussion on a playoff loss again than there is some huge collapse by the fact that he went crazy and decided that J.J. McCarthy should be the guy with all of these components around
Like that
McCarthy.
you put too much on McCarthy or something.
Yeah, which I don't think he's. I mean, they're purposely not doing that. They're not dumb, but the playoff thing will become a factor at some point if they don't win a playoff game.
Back to the list here. So Matt LaFleur, 10. And for people wondering, why would you put him in the same Deans of QB Rehab School category as O'Connell? Well, a couple things. Why are they ranked close together? I think Packer fans might fight for LaFleur to be above O'Connell. He does have playoff victories, and that does matter. And LaFleur has the 3rd best career winning percentage among active NFL head coaches. With the Packers, he's helped elevate Jordan Love as a young quarterback. He helped Aaron Rodgers get back to an MVP level of play late in his career. People kind of forget about that. Before he got to Green Bay, Matt LaFleur helped develop Kirk Cousins 12 years ago in Washington. Before that, at Notre Dame, he developed Everett Goulston to one of the best quarterback seasons in Notre Dame history. He was the quarterback's coach for Matt Ryan's MVP season in Atlanta. And then he was the offensive coordinator for Jared Goff and that Rams offense's crazy 2017 season. So he has had a lot of fingerprints on quarterback development and big offensive seasons. So O'Connell 9, LaFleur 10. Next tier, numbers 7 and 8. It feels like they missed a Super Bowl window. Number 7, Kyle Shanahan. Number 8, Dan Campbell. Where like they've had these Super Bowl ready teams, and either they run into the Chiefs in the Super Bowl in the case of San Francisco, or they blow a 17-point lead in the NFC Championship game, and or early exit from the playoffs last year in the case of Dan Campbell. So like these guys are still excellent. You'd still hire them if you were in the bottom half of these rankings, but it kind of feels like Shanahan and Campbell just like a little bit of a step back maybe from where they were a year ago.
And those 2 guys have had similar success, but it's funny because as far as personalities and people go, they could not be more different, right? Like Kyle is more of a quarterback guy, more of a guy that does not seem to at least publicly get upset or scream and yell. And Dan Campbell is the ultimate people.
Shanahan has a super hot temper, but he is more of like a thinking man.
But we don't really see it, is what I'm saying. And Dan Campbell's out there constantly. So, yeah, it will be interesting to see on both of them. I wonder, I think Detroit, when you look at what they have, should still be very good. I'm very curious on the Niners. I am very curious with what they've had to lose because of the Purdy contract. I still have questions about if the Purdy contract was wise, because it just takes such a huge hunk of your cap. And at that point in time, it does affect your cap. Like this whole thing of the cap is fake. Well, have a quarterback who eats up a ton and then tell me it's fake. So on the Niners, I am very interested to see how this goes because I don't think there's any assurances there.
I think it's the first time in the John Lynch, Kyle Shanahan era where they've deviated from flexibility and inexpensive at quarterback or like relatively inexpensive.
And they've definitely, to your point with your headline here, San Francisco has definitely lost guys who were a very important part of the window to win a Super Bowl.
Yep, and Detroit's more in the window than San Francisco still.
Yes, agreed.
So maybe it's a little unfair to put them in the exact same category here. But okay, number 6. There's one guy in this category, the sorry we doubted you tier.
Yeah, that's true.
Nick Sirianni. Mm-hmm. Sorry we doubted you. He'd probably be a little higher if not for brilliant roster construction. A lot of coaches, I think, could have, not a lot, but like there's probably 7 or 8 coaches that if you gave them that roster, they would have found a way to win a Super Bowl, like in the last 3 years at some point. So he gets docked a little bit. Maybe it's unfair for the work that the front office does to put the best offensive line, defensive line, Saquon Barkley,
right?
Just the weapons on the edge.
He did get a team back on track that appeared to be firmly off the rails at some point. So, yeah, he definitely deserves credit for that.
Okay, the who's got it better than us tier. The Harbaughs. Number 4, John Harbaugh. Number
No,
5,
that's awesome.
Jim Harbaugh. So John Harbaugh, one of the best winning percentages of any NFL head coach in history, but only one trip to the AFC title game since 2012. So it's tough to be in a conference with the Chiefs, the Bills, etc. Jim Harbaugh, as an NFL head coach now, 55-25 with 5 playoff wins and 3 trips to the NFC Championship game or Super Bowl. And I think they win that division this year over Kansas City.
Wow.
But he came right in, turned it right around, doubled the win total, 11 wins. They added more pieces. They got deeper and better at running back. Justin Herbert needs to be better in the playoffs. But the Harbaughs are 4 and 5 on this list. Number 3, if only the Chiefs didn't exist tier, Sean McDermott
Oh,
and the Bills.
Sean.
They're averaging over 11 wins per year since 2019. A slew of top 5 defenses and top 5 offenses. And here they are just stuck right behind the Kansas City Chiefs every single year.
Run to that brick wall every single time.
Yep. Number 2, destined for goatness, Sean McVay.
Mm-hmm.
So this dude hasn't even turned 40 years old yet. And he already has 8 playoff wins, 4 division titles, 2 trips to the Super Bowl, a Super Bowl victory, one of the great offensive innovators of the last, 10, 15 years in the NFL, and has a ridiculous coaching tree already.
Yeah. Which the funniest thing is, I think the majority of that tree, if not all, is older than him.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Like O'Connell just turned 40. So
Yep.
it's just, he's got these guys that were like learned under him, but they're all, for the most part, young or older than he is. So it's a remarkable story.
Yep. And then number 1, the all-time Mount Rushmore tier, Andy Reid, when it's all said and done, may go down as the greatest head coach in NFL history. I think he needs like one more Super Bowl, just like another year or two. But he's 4th all-time in wins. He's 2nd all-time in playoff wins behind Belichick. 3rd all-time in Super Bowl wins. And he's done it like with Belichick. Belichick had Brady for 20 years. With Andy, it's like, okay, he had that Eagles run where Donovan McNabb was probably playing a level or two above where he would have if not for Andy Reid. And then he wins a bunch of games with like Alex Smith in Kansas City, and then finally gets Patrick Mahomes, and you see these historical offenses and this dynasty that's been in front of us. So Andy Reid, number 1.
Would that conversation already be decided if he could have just won one Super Bowl in Philly?
In Philly? Yeah, they went to 4 straight NFC championship games in the early 2000s. They went to another 1 or 2 later.
McNabb threw up.
McNabb got nervous.
He
Literally.
barfed. Mm-hmm. He barfed. But I'm just like, because his success in Philly was phenomenal. Was outstanding. But if he had just gotten like the 1 Super Bowl there and then go to the Chiefs, get Mahomes, and you take off, it feels like that conversation might be done.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a good point. It's a good point. And maybe one more gets him over that hump. Also, just like he's more likable than Belichick.
Oh, God, yeah.
I do think Belichick's career derailing after Tom Brady kind of brings him down a notch.
Right.
And if Andy Reid retires on top and doesn't have the derailment for like if
Right.
and the good news for him is he's not going to be around after Mahomes leaves because that was the thing. Like Brady was almost to the end of his.
The common factor in both, though, is how do you weigh the success of a really good coach who gets a great QB? Like
but it's easier to contextualize when you win a bunch of games with Alex Smith and Donovan McNabb, who are nowhere near, top 15 or top 20 all-time quarterbacks.
Right, but that's what I'm saying. If you get a McNabb Super Bowl in Philadelphia, I think the conversation's done.
Yep. So, all right, before we get to a random Viking, any major qualms or issues or nits to pick with? We could recap this on Mackey and Judd too.
Yeah, I probably would if we went back. I probably would move Sean Payton up into the next tier. There were a couple names I saw that I might knock down, but that would probably be the end of my how high could I get Sean Payton?
Let's do a little post game show on this as part of Mackey and Judd's themes of the week. If you aren't already subscribed to the Mackey and Judd podcast, Score North YouTube channel, we can continue the discussion. But Dex has a random Viking of the week for us here, presented by the 3M Open, which is coming to town here pretty soon. Dex.
That's right. 3M Open. Go to 3mopen.com for tickets. Sam Burns coming back. Max Homa coming again this year. It should be exciting. Plenty of great golfers. Go to 3mopen.com. It's at TPC Twin Cities, July 21st. It's going to be really exciting. Lee Bryce on a little drinking class. A little hard to love. Judd, I know you're probably a big Lee Bryce guy just like I am, so this will be very, very exciting. Get a concert on top of your golf, on top of all the fun that's happening there. 3mopen.com/tickets.
Let's party. Let's do it. So random Viking of the week here. And last week, Donovan McNabb was the correct answer. Former Viking. It was Judd's second victory. He got Wade Wilson correct the week before that. Before then, it was a dynastic run by me with 7 straight victories. So in the revamped version of Random Viking of the Week, I have 7 wins. Judd has 2. Declan's still winless. And because Declan lost last week, he throws out the clues here. No Googling. You can Control F search to see if well, there's only 9. So hopefully we don't have to Control F search. But if we've done one of these guys before.
All right. This random twin. On my brain. Random Viking. I don't think it's a random twin. Random Viking played in 97 NFL games. 97 NFL games. This random Viking, I keep wanting to say twin. Random Viking was a 4th round pick. 4th round pick.
Willie Beavers didn't quite get to 97 career NFL games.
No, he did not. This random Viking was in the same draft class as Chad Greenway.
Oh my gosh.
Okay.
This random Viking scored just 1 touchdown in his NFL career.
Fourth round pick.
Mm-hmm. I feel like Judd's locking in a little bit.
I am too, but
Judd, did you cover drafts? Like, did you go to drafts when you covered the Vikings?
Oh yeah.
Or you did?
Yeah.
Okay.
This draft was held in the outer lobby of Winter Park.
Oh yeah. I'm sorry. You covered it at Winter Park. My bad.
No, you didn't go to drafts. No one goes really.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Yeah,
I've been
teams,
to one of those at Winter Park.
Teams all keep their main decision makers.
Yeah.
there. Yep.
Yeah, that's right. This random Viking played in 3 career playoff games. 1 without the Vikings. 2 of them came with the Vikings.
this is wild.
Okay, so I've got to beat on the years. I've got to beat on the years. 1 touchdown. 1 touchdown.
Who the hell else did they take that year?
This random Viking made only $14 million in his NFL career.
Oh, wow.
Probably most of it off the rookie contract wouldn't have been that lucrative.
Well, I will say, second contract didn't go so well because it got voided after 1 season.
Okay, that's not who I was going to guess. Voided. Oh, boy. Okay.
This guy.
All right.
You say this guy?
See what else do I want to give you guys here?
What did they do? We're sniffing around this.
He played for 2 NFL teams. In my opinion, this random
Is this
Viking.
Ray Edwards?
Ding, ding, ding. Ray Edwards.
Wow,
Ray
dude.
Edwards. I had to bring it back
Dude.
up. Ray Edwards.
I had a feeling
What a
because you
nice guy.
love this guy. Yeah, his contract was voided in Atlanta,
tough,
right?
Yeah, he signed a 5-year, $30 million deal. I didn't want to get to the fight because that would have been the UFC or the boxing stuff.
The great boxing career.
Not UFC, boxing stuff.
Sugar Ray.
Yeah. So I was about to say in 2009, so those 2 playoff games that he played in with the Vikings against the Cowboys, and then obviously the Saints. 4 sacks, 10 tackles, 6 quarterback hits. He had 5 quarterback hits against Drew Brees in that NFC title game. He was all over Drew Brees. But yeah, Ray Edwards. Good old Ray Edwards is your random Viking.
3 straight wins for Judley.
Thank you.
He's closing the gap here, and I'll deliver the clues next week. So they could come from any era, could come from the bust bin, the jag bin, the all-time
could be a callback,
quarter-century bin.
You both
could
love
be a callback.
You guys both love callbacks.
I knew this was going to be a callback, and I figured it was going to be from the jag exercise, and just Ray Edwards never popped into my head. So bravo to Judd. Nice clues, Declan. And let us know what you think of the head coaching tiers too. Kevin O'Connell at number 9. Disrespectful? Is it too homerish? You guys are
disrespectful. I don't think
drinking at the trough of Kevin O'Connell. He should be 20th.
Yeah,
Let us know in the YouTube comment section. Click that like button, the subscribe button. We'll see you guys for a Feedback Friday tomorrow. Purple Daily, we just want the Vikings to win a Super Bowl before we die.